World listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
Why is that lingering fear there about, will this replace most jobs? I mean, and how does one address that lingering doubt about a tech breakthrough?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to think about the new generation of AI models is that they have cognitive abilities. They are able to solve cognitive tasks. Now, if you think about the history of technology, when calculators came out, right, there were people who used to do those very cumbersome mathematical sort of calculations, which now did not need to do them by hand, but could use calculators. So in the same way, there will be certain types of tasks and certain types of activities that these models will be able to do. And I think the right thing that we will need to do is basically figure out how should we leverage them, and then the productivity gains that we get, how do we then invest those productivity gains towards solving newer problems. So if there are people, if we have more time now because we are more productive and we have access to these tools, the thing that society needs to ask itself is to how do we take on that extra amount of productivity that we have, and where should we focus it?
Okay,
and the answer that I would like that I would propose is basically there are so many challenges that we are facing. In fact, we should be thinking about using any sort of our brain power that we can get towards those things.
I would probably see this that the era of generalists may be over and the era of experts may probably be dawning upon us. But let's now look at some of those specifics in terms of first and foremost life sciences and medical research, simply because of the impact on humanity may be just so intense and life changing. How do you see that? You've also done a lot of work in that area, whether it is about pandemics or whether it's about cures or prevention.
A very good evening and a good afternoon, in fact, to our viewers in India. This is India Sense. I'm Gaurie Dwivedi. It's a special show today on what really happened in the last 12 hours. Unprecedented. The Trump-Zelenskyy face-off. But first up, the headlines that has come in since then. Gambling with World War III, says Donald Trump at the clash inside the Oval Office with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. The Trump versus Zelenskyy spat shook the world. The Oval Office spat has now world leaders wondering what will be the way forward, even as Donald Trump said that Zelenskyy overplayed his hand during contentious meeting where Zelenskyy demanded security guarantees to end the war with Russia. European leaders show support for Ukrainian president after that very ugly face-off between Trump and Zelenskyy. All right, viewers, the last 12 hours have shaken world capitals across the world. In fact, what has really happened is that it was expected that there could be some sort of a gateway to a negotiated settlement between Russia and Ukraine, brokered, of course, by Donald Trump. And the precursor to that could have been the minerals deal. So it was essentially a minerals for some sort of a defense arrangement between Russia, between Ukraine and US, and then followed by a negotiated settlement. All that went off the air completely, out of the window, in that 53-minute press conference where Donald Trump and Zelensky, in fact, got into what was an unprecedented clash meeting. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky appeared on Fox News shortly after his Oval Office meeting with President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. And Donald Trump also, in fact, made some remarks after that meeting. As I said, 53 minutes that shook world capitals, that shook how this entire war is now set to be handled, and more importantly, sets the stage for the remaining part of President Trump's administration. Remember, it's just been 1 month since he's been in Oval Office, and this is how it is likely to be over the next 4 years. Before we go any further, listen in to what both the leaders said after that ugly face-off.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
We will feel influence.
You're
I'm very serious.
You're gambling
I'm the
with the lives of
anymore.
millions of people.
You're
gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
What Russian President Vladimir Putin couldn't achieve in 3 years of relentless bombardment, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky seemingly accomplished in a matter of minutes, without even firing a single shot. In a shocking verbal showdown, Zelensky was grilled by President Trump and Vice President Vance, each accusing him of gambling with global peace and not showing enough gratitude for American aid. The exchange began with pleasantries, but quickly spiraled into a no-holds-barred verbal battle. Trump, visibly frustrated, told Zelensky,
I'm very serious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very...
Meanwhile, Vance, not one to hold back, echoed the sentiment, accusing Zelensky of disrespect.
People said they should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot of times.
No, in this
Even
entire
today.
meeting, have you said thank you?
Even today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the...
Zelensky, who has fought to keep his country afloat under relentless Russian bombardment, found himself caught in an unprecedented position, scolded by his American allies, questioning the very foundations of his struggle. In just 5 minutes, the biting words from Trump and Vance cast a dark shadow over Ukraine's future, raising doubts about continued U.S. support. Trump, ever the deal maker, made it clear.
Either we're going to end it or let him fight it out. And if he fights it out, it's not going to be pretty. Because without us, he doesn't win.
But the implications go far beyond this heated confrontation. As Trump unleashes his frustration, it became clear America is pivoting. The once solid support for Ukraine has clearly faded away with the end of Biden's presidency. In just 5 minutes, Zelensky's face-off with the Trump administration may have done more harm, in fact, than Putin's bombs could ever do. As Washington's policy pivots, Europe watches in alarm.
They should have an immediate ceasefire. That was the other thing. He didn't want to do about ceasefire. A ceasefire could take place immediately. A contract, if you want to end the war, you sign up an agreement. That's going to take a period of time. It takes time. I want it to end immediately. And I think if you had a ceasefire, it would be a ceasefire, a real one, that would end it. But he doesn't want to do that. That's fine. Do a better deal.
Okay, so as I said, in the last 12 hours, so much has happened that it's going to impact every country. And what will be the way forward for this 3-year-long war is something that I'm going to now address. So joining me are two sides of the discussion primarily, which is the Russia and the Ukraine. We have got representatives, both women, joining me on the broadcast to really understand where do these countries go from here in terms of the war. Tatiana joins me from Moscow, and Olena joins me, who's in fact former director of the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade, joins me from Kiev. As I said, ladies, so much has happened, but what is very clear right now is that there is no deal on the table. Forget the minerals deal, there is no peace deal, there is no ceasefire. And in fact, going by some reports, it almost looks like that unless now Zelenskyy makes way for the next leader to come in, his successor, maybe things won't move. At least that's what the Trump administration may be looking at when they said that they want an apology. Olena, let me start by you. What is the mood right now in Ukraine? What are they saying, and what are ordinary people saying about their president and that face-off?
Well, the mood right now is the one of unity. Ukrainian people remain united because they say that the strength of Ukraine is the strength from within. You know, 40% of this war is financed by Ukraine, 30% by Europe, and 30% by United States. So Ukrainians feel that they need to rely on themselves. That's number one. Number two, of course, this is a negative event that happened in Washington, and we did not want things to go this way. And we would want to, sign the deal and to convince Trump that actually it's impossible to achieve what he wants, and he already sees that it's impossible to achieve the ceasefire, the peace. He already spoke about it. We just don't want him to look for a scapegoat for this failure and decide that Ukrainian president is a scapegoat. It's an issue that Ukrainian president, he's emotional. He probably should have stayed more calm, even.
Olena, I understand it's a difficult time for your country simply because there's now more uncertainty about who's going to fund it, and also if there are no military guarantees from the American side, and if the Trump administration feels that they've been completely taken for a ride by what happened yesterday, it of course means more uncertain times for Ukraine going forward. But the question I want to ask you is, 3 years into the war, when President Zelenskyy was going into the Oval Office, should he have been better prepared, given the fact that he was dealing with a different administration, they had a different view about this war, and for better or for worse, President Trump has been saying he wants to end it. Do you think President Zelenskyy should have been better prepared?
I, of course, think that he could have been better prepared for this meeting. However, what I also think, and I tell you that Ukrainian people also think that, is that there are some comments that were made in the Oval Office that disrespected Ukrainian people when there were some untruths said about this war by J.D. Vance, when he said that he has not been to Ukraine, but he's watching some stories apparently on Instagram. This stuff also was heard, and this is why people sort of understand why Zelenskyy was reacting this way. Of course, he's a politician, he needs to keep calm.
He's a politician, he needs to be calm, and he also needs to be prepared that every time he goes to Washington, D.C., he may not be only coming in for applause in front of a joint session of Congress. He needs to be prepared for that. But let me get in the other side, which is Tatiana representing the voice from Moscow. I was seeing how it could play out for Russia. This is probably, in fact, a lot of people say, Tatiana, this would probably be the best possible outcome that Russia could have ever imagined from a Trump-Zelenskyy meeting. What's the mood like in Moscow? What are they feeling now? How soon do you think they could see this war coming to an end on terms that could be favorable and acceptable to Moscow?
Well, Gaurie, I think that the whole, again, putting so much emphasis on this meeting is a little bit biased to begin with. You know, Russia has been winning on the ground for months now. We are advancing forward. Our military forces are now closing the pot, as we call it, on the remaining Ukrainians that are in Kursk region, which means that it's going to be closed and then they're going to be destroyed. And so that is going to go out the window as a bargaining chip for the Ukrainian side. Is this meeting, was it very entertaining? Yes, it was the most entertaining thing I've seen on a Friday night in a long time, for sure. Will this actually make any communication? And I think that impersonal meeting between President Trump and President Putin, that meeting face-to-face has gotten that much closer because of what happened yesterday, because Volodymyr Zelenskyy came in there with this sense of entitlement, not understanding that he is dealing with a very different administration, an administration that doesn't want to pay American dollars for some very poor geopolitics that Ukraine was dragged into back in 2014 even. But I don't believe that, we can put all of the emphasis on this meeting. It's just unfair. This war is going to end, at least on the Moscow side, is going to end on Moscow's terms. There's no other way. There simply isn't. We have been looking at what's going on the ground for 3 years. I've heard all of it, and I've heard the majority of it right here on Ukrainian TV channels from Indian TV channels from Ukrainian representatives who are saying, we are going to stay strong. We're going to crush you, and that they keep losing land.
Yes.
And one other thing that we need to make very clear, Olena's, it's the third time I've heard her say that the US aid is not that significant. It is just simply misleading the audience. The US spent slightly less than the EU, but the EU is not one country. It is 27 countries.
Exactly. That's an important point you've made. Yes, there are 27 countries together, and there is US on one side. Thank you so much, both Tatiana and Olena. I have to end this, but it's important to get both sides of this argument. And on that note, we slip into a very short break. We come back with lots more on the other side of this ugly face-off and what this means for the world going forward. Stay with us.
What are you doing?
I gotta be me. I gotta be me. What else can I be?
The UPI figures were down this month. Now I want...
This lunchtime, go all Crispin with Walkers.
Morning looms. The night still weighs heavy. But with the finest aromas of Nescafe Original captured during roasting and grinding for our unique aroma and taste, we drag ourselves from dream to dare, and the dare is ours. For the making. Now win a £30,000 salary plus instant cash prizes. Enter now.
At AJ Bell, we're all about making investing easy. Open an award-winning ISA today in under 15 minutes. AJ Bell. Feel good investing.
At Cheerios, we know mornings can be challenging. So having a delicious breakfast that's high in fibre from oats, wheat and barley, that's a little win. Cheerios, little O's make little wins.
It goes around corners like that, right? You know what I mean?
Somewhere, yeah.
Yeah. I've actually noticed a little tappy sound there. I know, right? Could be time for me to change the cam, actually, I think it is that.
Here you go.
I've got no idea where I got it from. Just came out of nowhere.
It's been going round at the moment, so you're not alone.
That makes me feel much better.
Shop 3 for 2 on vitamins.
Sometimes it's the little things that remind us of them. Stay close, even when you're far apart. Send money worldwide with Remitly.
Visit bingoaliens.com/bingo for a cosmic range of bingo games, taking bingo to another dimension at bingoaliens.com/bingo.
Find a pet-friendly Italian restaurant with outdoor seating nearby and text it to Luca.
Find it real quick. Send it to the click.
Get your Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra with Galaxy AI and save up to £744 when you trade in a Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra on 3. Life needs a big network.
Welcome back. You're watching this very special edition of India Sense. Given what has happened in the last 12 hours, it's now time, viewers, to get you a sense of what it's like when it comes to what the EU's voice really is as far as how things are unfolding in the Russia-Ukraine war. Latest, remember, European leaders have thrown their weight behind Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, but it's not so simple as that. They will now have to pick up the cudgels possibly and take now the next move, because Donald Trump is unlikely to move any forward when it comes to this war with this Ukrainian leadership. So let's get in a word from William Denslow, who's joining me live to give us a sense of what's the view like from Brussels. They've been, I'm sure they must also be watching this in complete horror, William, how things unfolded at the White House. What is the view like in Brussels?
Well, the fascinating component as far as European leaders are concerned is that this comes at the end of a week where it was really seen that there were two very successful visits to the Oval Office, first by French President Emmanuel Macron, then by UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. It was really viewed that those relationships went well. There was a lot of warmth in the room on both those occasions. That warmth seemingly eroded overnight when Ukraine's president made his trip to Washington. So now the question is, how does Europe respond? How does it try and keep Washington on board to continue the US support hand in hand with Europe for Ukraine going forward? That is something that Europeans say is desperately needed. But what we're hearing after that meeting is that Europeans' support and the EU support for Ukraine is unwavering. Donald Tusk, the Polish Prime Minister, says to Volodymyr Zelenskyy, "You are not alone." French President Emmanuel Macron says that the EU and France was right to sanction Russia 3 years ago. It was right to support Ukraine 3 years ago, and it will continue to do so. Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission President, says that we'll continue to work with you for a just and lasting peace.
William, we are playing out all of those comments on Twitter in the graphics on our screens. But there's something I want to ask you, which is that, when Starmer was meeting Trump earlier this week, there was a question that was posed to him that without US, can you take on Putin? And that essentially now is now a larger, bigger EU issue, that without the US, how does this war move ahead between Russia and Ukraine with just the EU backing it? Can that happen? Or do you think that it would now be time for some of these leaders to now come and intervene and probably, make good on some of their political capital against Donald Trump?
Well, forgive me if this tweet is playing out on your screens at the moment, but Kaja Kallas, the Europeans' top diplomat, has said that in the wake of this meeting, it is clear that the free world needs a new leader. She says that it's up to us Europeans to take that challenge. So perhaps the most strong message from any European official after that meeting between President Trump and President Zelenskyy. Essentially, Kaja Kallas says the EU needs to pick up the reins. A real question is whether Europeans are in a position to do that. We have this meeting of a number of European powers meeting in London on Sunday. Then here in Brussels next Thursday, we have an emergency summit where top of the agenda will be how the Europeans can provide more support urgently to Ukraine, as well as boosting its own defence capabilities. Because let's not forget that Donald Trump and the US administration has railed against the EU and European allies in NATO for not doing enough when it comes to defence. So Europe was already facing pressure to ramp up its defence production, its defence spending, and that heat has been turned up even higher.
William, what Kaja Kallas has said, we did put that tweet out also, and that's very significant, because what that means is that this is going to now push for maybe those long pending, long delayed elections in Ukraine, new leadership to come in place, and maybe, of course, a complete reorientation of how this war has to now be dealt with. Thank you so much for speaking to me. And well, we cannot end this broadcast till the time we have a view from Washington, because at the end of the day, this not only happened in Oval Office, well, this war will not end unless and until the Trump administration is on board. And one has to agree, for better or for worse, Ukraine has very limited cards, if at all it does. And Raymond Vickery, former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce, joins me for more on this in terms of what this means. Well, Mr. Vickery, good to have you on the show. You've been talking about whether or not there are options for Ukraine. Let me start by asking you, what happens to European diplomacy from here on? Do you think it's going to be President Macron who will have to now come in and do some mediation between President Trump and Zelensky?
Yes, I think that France, the United Kingdom, Germany, Poland are going to have to try to pick up the pieces, and they've already started that. This America First business, you know, really is a rejection of Europe. And it goes back to the old great power view of the world, that great powers can resolve things and have their own spheres of influence. You don't have to worry about a UN charter. You don't have to worry about non-aggression, rule of law, those kinds of principles. It's just a might makes right approach. That led us into war in the 20th century. It will lead us to war in the 21st century unless other more principled democracies now, like India, will step up and help fill the void which has been created. And you know, this peace is indivisible now. Eurasia is one continent. India is a part of that continent. The idea that this was a European problem and could be set aside is just wrong. China's looking at it, and we all have a stake in it.
Indeed. And, you know, then this brings me to ask you about the US-Russia relationship. Of course, for President Putin, this could have been the best possible outcome out of that meeting. But where does the relationship between the two countries go from here?
Well, there's no question that we need to open doors with Russia. But we've had a period after the end of the Cold War in which democratic forces in Russia were allowed to participate, and we made great progress. We have to be able to get back to that. I have no objection to talking to whoever it is, including President Putin, to be able to resolve problems and get back to peace. War doesn't benefit anybody, but you can't just say, look, no matter what you've seen, there was no invasion by Russia of Ukraine. In fact, there was.
I'm afraid I'll have to leave it there, Mr. Vickery, because time is also of essence, and that's pretty much the case when it comes to this war as well. As we wrap this up, viewers, there's just one thing I want to say, which is that people say there may not be a deal. I think this is when there will actually be a deal, because the pressure is now going to be on President Zelensky to make way for a new leader. Thank you so much for watching this special edition of India Sense.
What's wrong with the car? It's okay, lads. I'm with the AA. Bombay mix.
Because the AA has more expert patrols across the country, you'll be back on the road in no time. No wonder more people choose the AA. Join today.
Sometimes there's things a man cannot know. Engines won't turn and the train won't leave.
Bingo lovers, it's time for a close encounter with Bingo Aliens. Visit bingoaliens.com/bingo for a cosmic range of bingo games. 75-ball bingo, even 90-ball bingo. All from a galaxy far away, direct to you. Taking bingo to another dimension at bingoaliens.com/bingo.
Ladies and gentlemen, Britain hasn't been so great of late because the country hasn't been eating enough Weetabix.
Makes sense. I've been eating croissants.
To whoever's in charge of fixing potholes, VAR, and drivers who park like this, we must say, have you had your Weetabix?
With PlusNet, great value broadband isn't just about price, it's also about speed. This kind of speed. Oh, there's a router. Get full fibre from $24.99 a month with speeds up to 900 megabits. Fast broadband you can rely on. That's a plus. Call us now or visit plus.net for our best price. Offer ends 5th of March.
Big deals now on. Get 10% off selected Hisense kitchen appliances. Shop now at ao.com.
Goldbank London, your #1 place for buying and selling gold. Visit goldbank.co.uk or call 0203 500 1111.
So when I went to sleep, my jewels were here. And when I woke up, gone. And now it's morning and I have no Nespresso coffee. Unforgettable. My jewels.
I must confiscate the evidence.
Cut!
Nespresso, what else?
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Badrinath avalanche claims 4 lives. The race to rescue 5 trapped workers continues. Multi-agency rescue operations are underway. Firing in a court premises in Haryana. Shots fired inside Ambala court. Cops say the shooter came in a car. Uddhav Thackeray calls for an emergency meeting amid speculations of MPs joining Shiv Sena.
With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
Zelenskyy-Trump have a White House clash as a heated argument takes place between both leaders. The future of Ukraine peace effort hangs in the balance. After the ugly Oval Office spat, support post this undiplomatic spat as Europe rushes to back Zelenskyy. 4 BRO workers have been injured, who were injured in the Chamoli avalanche have succumbed to their injuries. The death toll has now risen to 4. Rescue and relief operations continue in Uttarakhand Chamoli after a devastating avalanche struck the region and buried a BRO camp. 50 labourers have been rescued so far. 5 are still trapped. And as the rescue operations continue, the Prime Minister had also said that he will ensure that the centre provides all support needed. CM Dami had monitored the ground situation as well and met with those who were injured and rescued.
वहाँ पर जल्दी से जल्दी हम लोगों ने अभी यहाँ पर मीटिंग की, आपस में बात की है कि जल्दी से जल्दी वहाँ पर एंटीना स्थापित किया जाएगा, जिससे कि लोगों को जो है वहाँ पर उनसे आसपास के गांव से लोगों से लगातार संपर्क स्थापित हो। वो सब काम किए जा रहे हैं। 200 से अधिक लोग लगातार रेस्क्यू अभियान में अपना योगदान कर रहे हैं, बचाव में लगे हुए हैं। इसमें सेना के लोग हैं, ITBP के हैं, NDRF के हैं, BRO है, आपदा प्रबंधन के लोग हैं, अग्निशमन वाले हैं, हमारी पुलिस है, खाद्य विभाग के लोग हैं, स्वास्थ्य विभाग के लोग हैं, वायु सेना, थल सेना, सभी उस पर अपना काम कर रहे हैं। हेलीकॉप्टर भी पर्याप्त मात्रा में है। कुछ लोगों की हालत थोड़ा सा ज्यादा, क्योंकि रात भर ठंड के कारण से, उसके कारण से एवलांच में आसपास अपने को बचाने के समय चोट भी लगी है, लेकिन फिर भी अधिकांश लोग अभी ठीक हैं और जो बचे हुए 7 लोग हैं उनको भी जल्दी ही निकालने के लिए युद्ध स्तर पर काम किया जा रहा है। यहाँ से भी सभी तैयारियां की गई हैं। MI हेलीकॉप्टर भी हमारे तैनात है। मौसम जैसे ही ठीक होता है, क्योंकि माड़ा का जो बड़ा वाला हेलीपैड है वो उसमें काफी ज्यादा बर्फ जमी हुई है। छोटे से ऑपरेशन किया जा रहा है और माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने भी आज प्रातःकाल पूरे रेस्क्यू अभियान से लेकर पूरी घटना की जानकारी ली है और पूरे प्रदेश के बारे में भी ली है और हर संभव उन्होंने सहायता के लिए कहा है।
Vishnu Shom joins us with more details. Vishnu, the death toll there in Uttarakhand has gone up to 4 now.
Yeah, that's right. The very tragic loss of 4 labourers of the Border Roads organization who have been killed because of injuries sustained during the avalanche which hit the area in Mana in the near Chamoli at about 7 a.m. yesterday morning. So at the moment, 50 persons have been rescued. 4 injured people have been confirmed as fatal casualties. Those who are injured are being prioritized for evacuation by helicopter. There are 5 people who are still missing at the moment. Because of better weather in the area, several helicopters are now being deployed. 6 helicopters have been deployed for evacuation because roads continue to be blocked over there because of the very heavy snowfall in the area. So there are Air Force helicopters, Army helicopters, and also a civilian helicopter which has been hired by the Indian Army. There are senior Army officials, etc., who have also reached the site of the accident. But now the goal is to find the 5 people who continue to be missing after this tragic accident. And the very sad news now is that 4 people, all of whom 4 people have lost their lives, 4 laborers of the Border Roads organization. Their mortal remains have been found.
Right. Vishnu, CM Dami as well had visited the area where the rescue operations are taking place. He'd also spoken to some of the people who were injured as well.
I'm not entirely certain about the Chief Minister visiting Mana, but I can tell you about the present state of the rescue operations being conducted by the Army. And as I said, 4 people over there have lost their lives. 50 have been brought out. There are 5 who are still missing. The people who were brought out, most of them were in containers. This is where they used to live. This was the habitation that they used to live in. Unfortunately, in most of the cases, the habitation was able to sustain the brunt of the avalanche as it collapsed on top of the structure. But some people were injured. 4 of those people have lost their lives. But I think now the real question is, where are the missing 5 people? Is there any other structure over there, or were they out of the containers? That's something that needs to be found out. So hopefully there will be some information which comes in the hours ahead. Every minute, as we've been reporting, is absolutely critical.
Thank you for joining us and bringing us those details. Coming in on the broadcast, unidentified miscreants entered the Ambala court complex and had opened indiscriminate fire on an accused who had come to the court for a hearing. The miscreants had fled the scene after firing, is what we're learning. The police said that the shooter had arrived and in a car and had fired multiple rounds. This, of course, took place inside the court complex. Let's listen in to what the police had to say.
ये रहने वाले हैं खटीक मंडी के, अपनी गवाही के लिए आए थे और यहाँ गेट के पास ही पहुँचे थे, तो जब इनके ऊपर किसी गाड़ी में सवार व्यक्ति आए, उन्होंने गोली चलाई।
कौन शख्स पर गोली चली, उसका क्या नाम है?
उसका नाम अमन बताया गया अभी।
जिस पर गोली चली है और चलाने वाले, इनकी आपस में कोई रंजिश?
इनकी आपस में पहले है कोई।
My colleague Gurpreet joins us with more details. Gurpreet, take us to the latest of exactly what happened at the court complex where the shooting took place.
Well, what we have learned from the local police in the preliminary investigation, they have learned, and during the course of investigation, they have found there was one person whose name is Aman. He was coming to appear before the court. And during that, these two unidentified people, they have come and they have started indiscriminate firing in the court complex. Now they are trying to get all the CCTV camera footage from the nearby area so that these people should be identified. At the same time, what we have learned from the local police, they say it seems there was an old enmity angle which is being proved by the police so that the further investigation could be taken place. This incident had taken in the court premises, so it linked with some of the enmity, or maybe they are trying to find out any another angle if during the course of investigation. But as of now, the prime core issue is to just identify those people who have come and started firing in the court premises. So we have to wait and watch for the police investigation, how the investigation will be unfolded in the coming days. Back to studio.
Right, Gurpreet. Now, this is in fact quite a shocking incident as far as shooting taking place inside court premises, especially if there's an accused that's involved who was targeted, and that, of course, raises questions on the security deployment in the court complex as well.
Yes, that is one of the prime concern at this point of time. We can see this court premises, heavy security has been deployed there. And despite having the security cover in front of the court, why there is not proper checking, and how they were able to come inside the court premises with the weapon when everybody knows the sensitive things are happening in the court premises. So that is also part of investigation that is being carried out by the officers to just find out how they were able to make their way in the court premises and how could they open indiscriminate firing inside the court premises. So security reason, one of the major reason which has come out in this investigation, they are also trying to find out how and what type of security had been given to the court and how they were able to make their way to enter the court premises. Back to studio.
Thank you, Gurpreet, for joining us and bringing us those details. Now, Uddhav Thackeray has called a meeting with MPs amid speculations of MPs joining Shinde faction. Sanjay Deshmukh and several other leaders as well as Anil Desai have arrived at Matushri already for the meeting. Other MPs are also perhaps there for the meeting. My colleague Anuj joins us with more details. Anuj, take us through the latest as far as this meeting is concerned. Have all the leaders arrived?
Well, there are 9 members of parliament from Shiv Sena UBT faction. Out of them, only 6 are present here, alongside, of course, Priyanka Chaturvedi, who is the Rajya Sabha MP for Shiv Sena UBT. So, you know, it's been 2 hours since the slated time for the interview. We are past that, and yet these 3 people are not present. And amongst those 3 people, of course, there is Ashtikar, there is Arvind Sawant. Arvind Sawant is considered to be very close to Uddhav Thackeray, but you know, even his absence will be will put a lot of question marks. But a more important question is about Sanjay Dina Patil. Sanjay Dina Patil represents the northeast constituency of Mumbai in Lok Sabha, and even when you know, when these allegations were being made about how Operation Tiger is in full-fledged and how senior Shiv Sena leaders, especially Uday Samant, had gone on record to state that legislators and parliamentarians are in their touch and the defection will happen soon. After that, a show of unity was done in Delhi, where all the MPs did a press conference together with Uddhav Thackeray, but the only person to not be present there was Sanjay Dina Patil. However, he later clarified that he was busy with some other personal commitment, but that did stay the way it was. And even today, we can see that out of the 6 MPs, out of the 3 MPs who are not present here, here. Sanjay Dina Patil is one of them. It will be interesting to see what will be the next point of action as far as Shiv Sena UBT is concerned. You know, when you talk about the official reasons for this meeting, they've talked about how the party needs to expand and have a revamp in the coming months, especially given the fact that the civic body elections are going to be very crucial. And that is one of the reasons why this election, this particular meeting becomes so important.
Right, Anush, thank you for joining us and bringing us those details. The Delhi police are holding a key meeting in the national capital. This is a follow-up meeting after Home Minister Shah had held his review meeting with the CM and the LG as well. The focus of the meeting is the law and order situation in Delhi. It's a follow-up on the Home Minister's instructions. My colleague Anushka joins us with more details. Anushka, the Delhi police holding a key meeting. This, of course, coming after Home Minister Amit Shah's review of the law and order situation in the national capital.
That's right. Meeting is underway, at the PHQ, that is the police headquarters in Delhi, after the review meeting that, after the meeting that Home Minister Amit Shah yesterday took with, Chief Minister Rekha Gupta and Home Minister Ashish Sood. We also saw the likes of, the DCP level, SP level, all of the levels of, police officials coming here and joining the meeting. Now, yesterday only after the meeting, Amit Shah had in fact instructed the officials, the, Special Commissioner of Police that, special actions should be taken and a ruthless approach should be taken to remove crime from the national capital against the illegal immigrants that are coming to Delhi. Special action should be taken. A special drive should be run against the network that is in fact facilitating the entry of illegal immigrants. Not only that, it has also been in fact said that for the construction activities that take place in Delhi, the requirement of police officials' permission will not be required because regarding that, it has also been said that it paves way for corruption inside the police personnel's ranks. Also, we are seeing that in this meeting, it is said to be in fact given the fact that the officers will pay forward the instructions that were given by the HM himself. Yes, in the meeting yesterday that happened. They have also said that the traffic-related issues will also be solved. A special monsoon action plan should also be kept in place. Civic-related issues should also be taken on a priority basis. Crime against women and children should not be taken lightly. And an action towards the gang-related, extortion cases, action should be taken against those cases also. We're also seeing that the meeting is right now underway. Several of the Delhi police officials are in fact right now inside, the meeting. They are discussing about how to pay forward this whole instruction towards the whole network of the Delhi police officials. Over to you.
Right, thank you for joining us and bringing us those details. Now, Chandigarh residents are up in arms protesting against the demolition of a wall of a 6-decade-old rock garden. The 40-acre site is a major tourist spot and was built using recycled items. Environmentalists leading the protest lamented the loss of the green cover to accommodate needs of the modern world. My colleague Gurpreet reports.
Chandigarh residents have been protesting online. Also, symbolic protest has been held here at the Rock Garden because this wall, which is being demolished by the Chandigarh administration, that was one of the main reasons why they are holding protest. They have been demanding this is the heritage structure and it should be preserved. It should not be demolished at any cost. We will show all the visuals. This is the High Court parking and why this wall is being demolished by UT administration because they wanted to expand this High Court parking. One side, the Chandigarh residents say that this is the part of heritage and especially Rock Garden, which is being made by Nekchand, and it should not be, this wall should not be disturbed. At the same time, UT administration say it is not part of heritage because they wanted to expand the parking of High Court and they have to demolish. As of now, what we are showing these visuals from the ground, we are showing that work is already under progress because UT administration has taken this plea saying that this is not a part of heritage, but one of the residents and some of the residents, they have been holding protest online also. They are holding a symbolic protest also. They are saying even in the master plan, it seems it's in the master plan that this is the part of heritage and even this wall should be preserved to maintain and retain this heritage status of Chandigarh. With Vijay, Rajesh Kumar, this is Gurpreet Singh China for NDTV, Chandigarh.
We'll continue tracking these stories for you. For now, a short break.
Caring for your cat is a lifelong commitment, and with the advanced nutrition of Purina One, you could see a visible difference in just 3 weeks. Your cat could benefit from great appetite, higher energy, healthier digestion, shinier coat, and brighter eyes. Try Purina One today.
Shop big deals right now at AO. Get savings on electricals big and small from brands like Hisense, Hotpoint and Shark. Plus, with finance options available, no wonder we're the UK's most trusted major electrical retailer. Shop now at AO.com.
It goes around corners like that, right? You know what I mean?
Something like that.
Yeah. I've actually noticed a little tappy sound there. I know, right? Could be time for me to change the camera. Actually, I think it is that.
Here you go.
I've got no idea where I got it from. Just came out of nowhere.
It's been going round at the moment, so you're not alone.
That makes me feel much better.
Shop 3 for 2 on vitamins.
At Cheerios, we know mornings can be challenging. So having a delicious breakfast that's high in fibre from oats, wheat and barley, that's a little win.